We finally make it to the habitat of the Central Ranges taipan. This area is mostly dominated by spinifex and mulga trees. We pass through interchanging habitats of sand dunes and rocky outcrops. While I'm filming, Steve's always looking for snakes, and he's trying to find where I am too. On this trip we came across many bushfires that were started from lightning strikes. A lot of the best habitat was all burnt out, and when this happens, snakes will hide for a long time deep down in burrows where it's nice and safe and they can't get burnt. This makes it really difficult for us to find them. We come across many western brown snakes, or guadas as they're also called, that fool us into thinking they are taipans. It's not until we get a close look at the snake and notice they behave a lot different to a taipan. Usually a taipan will raise its head to get a better look of what's going on. They are super smart snakes. They also have different body movements to a brown snake, and while brown snakes are super alert and fast, taipans are even more. This western brown had us fooled for a while. It had the exact same colours as the western desert taipan. There were a couple of days it was 47 degrees and we were just about to give up. Well, we actually did give up, and as we were heading off we spot a beautiful snake in the middle of the road. It had its head raised up in the air, and Steve and I look at each other and we shout, "Taipan!" So we got a western desert taipan. Beautiful snake. This snake, it's taken us about 7 days to find in a really hot country. And this is one of the newly described taipans. And look at that build, he's very, very slender. He's not a huge snake, built for speed and getting through this country really quick.
We reckon he's about 1.2 metres roughly, which is a young one. So the Western Ranges taipan is the smallest of all the taipans. Now the reason there's not much information on this snake is less than 20 have been found. They were only discovered 10 or 15 years ago, and this is the first one to have been seen in about a year. The last one was seen by my mate Ross all the way down in Inglekirka where we couldn't actually get to. Whoa. And look, he's responding a little bit to the movement. Every time I move, he jerks. That's a typical taipan thing. All the taipans are very responsive to movement. I'll just give you a bit of an example. See, I've just moved. Whoa. And he's
looking at me because I moved.
Now he's on the move. Alright. So, I'm going to move him off the road. This is the first Western Ranges taipan. I can't say too many other people would have handled one of these. The taipans are just a super alert snake. They're super quick and super agile. They're the taipan group, particularly the coastal taipans, are right up there with the black mamba for the most difficult to handle snakes. Generally these guys are known to be pretty quiet, but this one's young. Young snakes are a lot more nervous and flighty and therefore a lot more dangerous. Far quicker to bite when harassed, and they've got big fangs. I don't like to use the word intelligence with animals because it's not really a good accurate way of describing how the mind works, but they're certainly a smart and very alert and switched on snake. When you're handling a taipan, the way they look at you, it's the same way that a king cobra looks at you. They kind of just stare at you, and it gives you shivers up the spine a little bit if you're not used to it.
Look at those scales. Built for the desert. So you'll notice Steve isn't really looking at the camera. Now the reason for this is because he's watching every bit of movement that the snake does. He's kind of in focus with the snake and the snake's in focus with us.
Look at that. And while he's super alert, he's not super grumpy at the moment. But as you'll see, he's not trying to have a go at me at all.
Taipans are so smart, they know moving backwards makes it awkward for you to hold them.
So there's 3 species of taipan. There's this, the Western Ranges, or Central Ranges taipan I should say. There's the inland taipan, which we're about to go look for. And then there's the coastal taipan, found up in North Queensland.
This one is the most difficult to find out of all of them.
Mostly because it lives in the most remote areas of Australia, if not the world.
Steve now decides to move the snake far off into the bush where it can't be hit by a car. Notice how he's got that straw white colour to him, the same colour as the spinifex. This probably helps the snake camouflage during the day while it hunts. And just look at that quick head movement.
This area is all burnt out, which is probably why it's easy to see him today. Now this is one of the rarest snakes in Australia, though they might not be that uncommon. They live in just some of the most remote parts of the Australian outback, in a few very selected locations. It's been a year since someone spotted one of these guys. The last person to spot one was my mate Ross. And one's not been seen out here for 2 years, and that last one, or those last 3, was spotted by my mate Dan.
Let's see if I back away slowly. He doesn't mind too much. It's the quick movements around snakes they don't like. Watch this. There's my boot right there, and I moved very slow. The snake finally has enough of us and coils around itself in defense. It's not the S position, but it's basically saying, well, go on, try and touch me. I'll probably bite you. This is great for us, because it means we can get a good photo of it and some good film. But the snake ends up settling down and realises we're not a threat to it. To me, this snake is just really shy and nervous, and the whole time we've been filming it, it's been trying to get away from us. It definitely hasn't set out to chase us and bite us, that's for sure. And now this snake is really chilled, we can get nice and close to it. The taipan in Australia has a huge reputation for being a very dangerous snake. That is true, but in most circumstances, if you're near a taipan, it's going to run far away from you as quick as possible. They're super fast snakes and they're really, really shy, so they'll get out your way before you can actually even see them. Steve gets some photos and I'm actually awestruck we found this snake. I'm starting to find out these snakes have a really gentle side to them. Awesome, a Western Desert taipan.